Welcome back to the Armchair Trader podcast. On the podcast today, we're talking to CleanTech Lithium, arguably, well, certainly in our opinion, one of the hottest lithium stocks on the London market at the moment. And we're lucky to have Aldo Boitano, who is the CEO of CleanTech Lithium, in the studio today to talk to us a little bit more about the project and about progress with it. So welcome to the podcast, Aldo.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Now, there will be some investors who haven't actually heard of CleanTech Lithium previously. So, could you give us just a short summary of the company and the projects you're working on in Chile?
Yes, CleanTech Lithium was set up as a new path for lithium in Chile with low impact and sustainable lithium extraction. We have 3 strategic lithium projects in Chile who account for more than 500 square kilometers in the license areas that we have. The total lithium resource exceed 2 million tons of lithium. 800,000 of them are indicated and measured. Remaining are inferred. And we'll have more upgrades on that before the end of the year and then the beginning of the next quarter. We have 2 wholly owned licenses, the ones we've developed the most, Laguna Verde and Francisco Basin, who sit up in the southern tip of the lithium triangle. There's no competing lithium projects in the area, and because we have these projects at 4,300 meters above sea level, there's a little flora and fauna and no indigenous communities. We have a very experienced board and management that has developed these projects in Chile. We listed on the AIM on March 17 on 2022. We raised pre-IPO 4 million pounds and 5.6 in the pre-IPO and IPO funds. And we just completed 2 weeks ago an additional raising of 12.3 million pounds.
And in terms of the actual size of the project, how does that measure up against other lithium projects that are out there at the moment?
Yeah, the 2 million tons are significant amount of resources. We plan to increase that, and according to our 2 brokers, Canaccord and Fox Davis, we should go up to 4 and 5 million tons. That's in a size comparable to Lake Resources, a company whose value at $1.4 billion. We're currently around $50 million. So there's a lot of uptake. We're just, let's say, a couple of months behind them, but we'll get there.
And you mentioned sustainability of the project. Can you tell us a little bit more about what makes it a sustainable project and why it's important for something like this to be a sustainable project in the first place?
Yeah, it's not only sustainable, but a low impact and a low carbon emissions, almost zero. We have been working since we started the company in 2017. I'm one of the 2 co-founders with direct lithium extraction. By deploying direct lithium extraction technology, we're looking for sustainability for lithium extraction. Why? Because the brine is pumped to a processing unit in the surface. There's a resin used to extract only the lithium. 100% of the spent brine in an organic way can be re-injected. There's no evaporation ponds, no aquifer depletion. And then everything, it's faster too. It only takes hours once you have the plant set up, and the construction lead of a plant is 9 months. And evaporation ponds, or the traditional way of working with brine, take a year and a half to construct, and then the whole process is 320 days of a series of pools, 6, 7, or 8. And the other thing important, not only sustainable and low impact, is more efficient because it's at the resin level, you have a 95% recovery rate, and then the overall process is anywhere between 80 and 85, versus evaporation ponds was around 40 to 45, so it's almost double the recovery rate. It's revolutionary in the sense that many companies are starting to try this, but it's been around since 1998 in a salar in Argentina called Leiden, where they don't have evaporation ponds. And our partner, we signed an MOU and we're working together on piloting and the pilot plan. Sunresin from China, they had 3 producing salty lakes in China of lithium. They signed they did a PFS with a company in Utah, and now the reason I said 9 months to construct a full plant, EPC style, is because they're doing that in Argentina. They only took them 5 months to send 134 containers to to Argentina. It's only 200 kilometers away from our properties. And they're building the plant is 25,000 tons per year production.
And presumably the sustainability of the actual projects, and you mentioned the impact as well, the low impact, makes it a preferable source of lithium for some buyers in the market. I'm thinking here, for example,
Yeah.
EV companies, battery makers in Europe.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, not only not, I forgot to mention one key aspect of being sustainable. We're going to use 100% renewable energies. Uh, and that's because there's plenty of it in Chile. I actually worked and developed 3 projects that account for 800 megawatts of solar renewable energy. But yes, yeah, the European market is getting stricter and stricter. The US also is getting stricter in the sense not of the traceability or how the lithium is produced, but only can be by 2026 can only be produced by making all the parts of the battery can only be made by people in the US, and then also from countries where they have free trade agreements. Chile is the only country that has a free trade agreement with the US that produces lithium. We as an economy have 85% of the world's economy in free trade agreements with us.
Oh, gotcha. And you yourself have quite a bit of experience in the clean energy space. So you bring something that's a little bit more extra to the table for CleanTech Lithium.
Yeah, like I said, I've been working all my life in mining and renewable energies project. I live and work abroad for 12 years. I'm currently based in Chile, study in civil industrial engineering, then got an MBA in the US and a doctoral degree in the US. And I really like projects to be from startups to construction. We also have a chairman, Steve Kessler, who was a doctor in hydrometallurgy, who went from the early beginnings of the Escondida to make it into the largest copper mine of the world. He lived 30 years here. And then he was the CEO of Collahuasi, also from early stages into construction, making it the second largest copper company of the world. So that has permeated to the team. We have a strong team in Chile and Jersey and in London, where we have offices. And the ambition and values are to move the projects forward, to produce the greenest battery grade lithium for the EV future. We're seeking to create a safe workplace. We work on the past drilling seasons, 21,000 hours without a single accident. We are improving the environment that we operate in. We're working on we have an ESG focus, and just our commitment is to have carbon neutrality and net zero.
Can you give us some more detail on the your first JORC estimate for the project?
Yeah, we actually have two JORC, JORC. One is Laguna Verde. We originally listed with 1.2 million tons, mostly inferred, and now it's 1.5, and 800,000 of them is measured and indicated. That's enough to produce 20,000 tons per annum of lithium for 30 plus years. And Francisco Basin, who we have a maiden resource with just one hole, very well done, deep and a big diameter, that has 500,000 tons. That's our second job of inferred resource. And we plan to expand both with the drilling campaigns just started. We released an RNS like 2 weeks ago that we're mobilizing the equipment out to both places. We're going to run again as just the previous season, 2 simultaneous drilling campaigns. And our aim is to move that number up to 4 or 5 and compare to like resources and others. But already now we have more resources like companies like Great Salt Lake or companies in various parts of the world.
And you were recently carrying out a site visit, looking at local services and infrastructure.
Yeah, our CFO is the happiest person because he's projecting no investment in infrastructure. There's a paved highway that goes to Laguna Verde, and it's an international highway that goes from Copiapó into Argentina. It's in Francisco Basin. We have 4 access roads. Some of them come down from this international highway. There's a 2 kilometers electrical station in Francisco Basin, a substation, and it's easy to connect. And then we have 56 kilometers only from another substation with ample capacity to connect for Laguna Verde, who in mining terms is it's nothing. With a power purchase agreement, you can build into the price of the electricity. You can build that line. And Yamara, who is a project, is a greenfield project, much north, close to Salar de Atacama, the largest reserves of the world. That's the place where most of the solar plants are. There's high voltage, low voltage. There's cell phone coverage in 2 of the 3 basins. It's much infrastructure, and that was carried out recent and more detailed survey visits. We are going to be releasing in the next month or so a scoping study, who amounts to a preliminary economic assessment for Laguna Verde, who will give value to the project. And before the end of the year, we're going to be finishing the same from Francisco Basin. We're basically de-risking the projects, giving more certainty to the market, and that will be followed by a PFS, a preliminary feasibility study, who's more accurate. We're going to work in next year for both projects. We expect to drilling that the drilling we're going to carry on Yamara with this money we just raised will also add a maiden resource, and we expect to improve the drill some more there in that basin as we expect and finding lithium.
Yes, you've just recently raised over, I believe, £12 million.
Yeah.
What will that help the company to achieve?
Yeah, the 2 dealing campaigns that we're running now and the third for Yamara were not part of the original money we raised for the IPO. So that's where we're spending most of that. The reasons we updated the resources and have the maiden resources because we drill deeper and did more sampling. So that increased the cost of the previous drilling campaign. So that's what we plan to do. But at the same time, we've been boosting our management and staff more than expected, and to deliver an extensive forward work program with the environmental lines, environmental studies, hydrogeological studies. And the reason we raised money is because the major shareholders encourage us to give ourselves a greater financial firepower, and we follow that lead. Overall, we were very successful raise. We was well oversubscribed, with nearly 80% coming from existing shareholders, and was done at the 47p, only with a 4% discount to the last 10-day weighted average on the market, and this was 57% above the IPO price. So those are the additional costs that I mentioned in hydrogeological studies, in the more extensive environmental impact study, management and staffing, and the drilling in the 3 sites.
And I mean, in terms of capex, just for those who are maybe not as familiar with lithium versus other types of mining, it doesn't really require the same level of, the massive amount of infrastructure investment that, say, even a gold or a copper mine would require, would it?
No, yeah, this is pumping brine from subsurface aquifers, having a net of directional drilling down below to minimize in the surface the bores. Then you pump it into the direct lithium extraction plant. And Argentina construction by Sunresin gives a pretty accurate capex. We actually went on the listing documents, and back in March we also had quotes from them. So, roughly for a 20,000 per year operation, a plant will cost the capex will be around $400. As we move forward with the scoping study in the PFS, we might reduce that and start with the 10,000 plan. They're scalable, so it could be that we start with the 10,000 plan in one side, and that provide the funds for further expansion, as the net present value of the projects and the current price of lithium is way high, around $74,000. We are only planning 22,500 on the long term. So roughly overall, it's $400 million for each of the 220,000 ton plants. So it's $800 million overall, the capex. But we plan to, like I said, it depends on the suggestions from the scoping study and the PFS, do it in a more scalable way. We'll see.
You mentioned there the market for lithium. What's your impression of the lithium market going forward over the medium term, in terms of demand and pricing?
Well, as the world moves forward on the electric vehicle demand, the lithium demand forecast is to rise. This is sourced by Canaccord Genuity, our broker, back in August of 2022. They said that we need to move from 350,000 tons of LCE, lithium carbonate equivalent, into 20 to 2.5 million tons of lithium carbonate equivalent in 2030, and then over 7 million tons of lithium carbon equivalent in 2040. Europe is a key growth market for lithium, the demand forecast to increase by 20 this decade alone. But at the same time, the European Union has announced a strict CO2 footprint limits on the lithium battery supply chain. So we're right on all those things, tickling all those things.
And the lithium you're putting out from these sites is also pretty high grade, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. We run our own direct lithium extraction work to produce 1 kilo of battery grade lithium. The requirement is 99.5 purity. We had 99.9 purity, and we got this certified in a lab in Germany for battery grade lithium. And now we are importing from the subsidiary of Sunresin in Belgium. They have two subsidiaries there. A very small unit of direct lithium extraction to produce small quantities of lithium that we plan to certify again, and send to off-takers and end users, battery producers, so they can start working on the computerized programs of our lithium into the production. And then that will be followed. We're going to be deployed in the next 6 months or so. And we're working on the final details of a pilot plant to produce 1 ton of lithium. And then we'll send hundreds of kilos to the same vendors and off-takers who we started working with this small unit plant. And that will allow them to construct batteries. So by the time we're producing lithium and selling lithium in 2025, we have already proved to the market the quality of our lithium. So it's a very good question. Thank you.
Well, that sounds excellent. What's the? I want to also ask you about the posture of the local government in Chile. I mean, how are they? What's their view on the lithium mining industry, and do you expect any support?
Yeah, the government all the time has an emphasis on lowering environmental impact and CO2 emissions from mining. We've had very positive feedback from authorities for CleanTech's plan on direct lithium extraction and renewable energy-based processing, and it aligns perfectly with the government agenda for the lithium industry. Chile has been on a pro-investment agenda. The president and the treasury minister, the mining minister was last week in London, and we approached some of the cabinet members. Our board is coming to Chile the last week of November, the first week of December, and also meeting with authorities. Again, comparing to Salar de Atacama, who have larger operations for some more than 50 square kilometers, and they have their facilities in a place where there's indigenous communities. We have no harm to the environment. We have no aquifer depletion. We have a small footprint. And all that has been taken very positively. Some of our projects have been taken to international gatherings by the government itself. And we're just looking forward a path to the production with them, the final permits.
And I know it's probably very hard for you to predict this, but in terms of the actual output from the mine once it's up and running, is there a particular market you would expect it to go to? I know it's probably still difficult to gauge that at this stage.
Yeah, it is difficult. For one important matter that I haven't mentioned is we are one of the only listed companies and at this stage of development who doesn't have an offtake agreement. We plan to have that as we finish the scoping study. We get into the pre-feasibility study and sign one of those household names, big battery cars producers, or even mining companies. And now we're getting like Rio Tinto getting into the mining space, and that will produce very likely an offtake agreement. So part of the production will go to one of those companies. We already been approached by that, but we're holding further conversations until we have more certainty and more economic value of the project. But like I said, Francisco Basin, be ready the scoping study before the end of the year. And Laguna Verde, we already have a draft that we're working. and it will be probably in the next months or so, we'll be ready to tell the market. So that will take part of the production into one place. But again, we're looking to the European market and the big gigafactories being built for battery production.
Yeah, I expect that could actually be a huge game changer for you guys. Once that demand really comes online over the next few years.
I think it's so to all those new investors that are out there. I think it's very important that they recognize that we are looking to produce the greenest lithium of the world, or with in a great mining jurisdiction, less of Chile. Again, we have a board and management who's very experienced, and the invitation is to this unrivaled opportunity to invest in a very undervalued lithium opportunity. The stock market has been growing, but certainly we have a lot of space to keep growing.
Well, certainly very significant in what have been tough market conditions that your share price has been going up when a lot of other miners has been going down. So I think that in itself is significant. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the call today, Aldo.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Armchair Trader podcast. Make sure you visit our website, www.thearmchairtrader.com, for your daily dose of financial markets news and sign up to our free newsletter there.